What's up, Zoxaskun? We're back with some more Etheria Restart. Now, we're going to be getting into my Rengoku run. I'm going to be talking you guys through it. This is actually a team consisting of Klaus, Rin, Linglo, and, of course, the Ting. I was trying to eliminate, as many of the strong powerhouses that are coming from the SSRs, like, the Yelly or the Lilies, right? So we're going to get into the run, talk about the unit that I really want to highlight here, which is going to actually be Rin, because this is like one of the first real taunt-based teams that I've used. Taunt is a mechanic that exists within the game that I would say if most players have used it, it's been primarily with characters like Vice, because he is so accessible, from the R rarity. But Rin actually just got a buff from the most recent balance patch that they did. And so I was like, you know what? Like, let me be the person to test this out. If I got to sacrifice some lattice to get it done, let's go ahead and let's get it done, right? So going all the way, testing this character out, I gotta say, her ability to taunt or control a fight is pretty solid. The buff that they actually gave her did help out pretty well, and I'll pull that up to give you guys the specifics after we go through the run. But the entirety of this fight, and basically the general premise of this fight, is that we're trying to make sure that we get through the general fight without having anyone die, right? So you're just trying to take on all these extra freaking hits that he's doing. On the Ling Low, we do have her equipped with Fortissimo. So that does help out tremendously with being able to give us some excess heals when she uses like her skill 1, which in my case can actually full heal. I'll show you guys all the stats and stuff like that. But as you can see here, this team is doing well, right? We're already, close to the halfway mark. The Ting is actually about to go again, or he just went. And then we should be rotating, I think, after this turn. I think he does rotate just a little bit in front of him. There we go. So it puts us at about that halfway mark. And I will say, dude, this is a really annoying fight, but like it is manageable if you have the right things. But I will also say, like, respectfully so, like the faster you want this team comp to go or be, it's in game, right? Like you gotta invest into it. Like that's one thing at least that I've noticed is like this isn't just like a light investment dungeon at all. So even with the team comp that I'm using, like everybody like has some sort of investment put into them. They're built up. They're having to take hits. It's definitely a lot, right? But here we go. Nice. We got the data hacking in progress actually stacked there. So let's see, hits my Ting. I think it's taunted. Yeah, so yeah, we're actually doing pretty well here. I think we go skill 2. There we go, right? And then we get all that shield, heal. And again, I'm not going for speed. I'm going for completion. Like that's all I care about. I'm trying to make sure that I complete the fight because at that point, then you have access to the third matrix bonus, right? And I think as much as you can realistically make the fight as consistent as you possibly can, that's like really the goal. But dude, he hits like a freaking freight train. Luckily though, the characters that are getting hit have good amounts of HP to kind of, take some of these hits. And with the taunt is so crucial to this fight because it's basically forcing like some of that main primary damage into the Rin. So she's the one that's really keeping this team alive, if we're being like completely honest. That with the slow coming from the class, like it's a lot of good coverage. Like look at that. All right, so we're coming to the tail end here. And the one thing I will say I can at least appreciate with this boss is he doesn't have like insane endless scaling. Like that would actually make this fight like impossible. But yeah, he's just kind of the same character that like throughout the whole fight. You just have to cover those gaps really well. And that's like one of the hard things to actually do. And then, like I said, removal of the debuffs is like the biggest thing. Like if you're not removing those, then it just makes it really, really hard to deal with this boss. All right, so I think we get Rin here. Ooh, took my Kloss last second, but we should be good for the clear. And this is like those windows, like if she doesn't get that taunt, then you just die. But she has a pretty good chance to get it though. There you go. So that was my very first freaking clear. Rengoku. Oh, jeez. Dude, so the funny thing is, like I said, first time clear, right? Now, Rengoku done 4-minute run. Do I care? Absolutely not, because that's a clear, right? And so now I can actually start farming this. I'm going to tweak the team a little bit so that we can have this going a little bit more consistently. But just the fact that you can have a character like Rin do something like this is insane, right? And with the buff that she actually received, hold on, let me actually pull that up real quick. Okay, so I was able to find it. So basically, let's actually go over to Rin so we can take a look at her. Rin's buff was actually they increased her source guard. It was like 270% defense scaling. Now it's 300% at max. And that's basically like, honestly, I feel like was like definitely a really, really huge buff for her. Excuse me, because it allowed her to be able to have more ability to tank at that point, or give enough shield to tank. And then the bigger thing was that they reduced that skill from 4 to 3 turns. So it was actually like not really manageable because they had it on rotation with the skill 3. So it didn't really work, right? Like it was like, okay, like I need the taunt, but you like want to taunt and then go immediately into skill 3. You don't want these both up at the same time. Like you want this to be like coming off of cooldown. Like it's like you wanted it to rotate differently. So it kind of fixed those issues. Now, the thing is that I know somebody's going to ask, is there any way to skimp out on investment to get her to work properly? No. The reason why it's not a doable is because of the fact that you need her to have the taunt chance as high as possible. I'm not even going to like lie to you guys. That fight, I did so much tweaking and I knew that run was going to be successful just simply because of the fact that the one thing I actually need to tweak wasn't her. It was actually on Kloss, and we're going to talk about that in a second. But she is truly a 5 out of 5 out of 5 character if you want her to be a taunt character for the fight. Like 1,000%. Now, I will say I am going to try to use her into some PvP, so I don't really mind it. But it 1,000% required her to have her skills fully maxed out for the taunt chance to be at its highest on the skill 3. If I say, if there was any prioritization, it'd be skill 3 first with the taunt and the attack. Skill 2 is definitely second. And then skill 1 is third, but they're all like kind of necessary, right? So the skill 1 is kind of the icing on top of the cake though, and like a lot of icing on top of the cake, because that's going to be what ensures that when Rengoku gets his actual turn, the hit is going into her. She's one of the characters that can actually take on that hit. Usually if you're using like, say like a substitute character, which would be like Vice in her position, he doesn't have the AoE taunt, but he basically locks down Rengoku. So that's something that like it literally emulates and does the same thing, but he has a heal to basically supplement keeping characters purified and like health up on themselves. But when you're looking at Rin, her value is that skill 2, where she gives the defense up with that shield, so you're not getting hit as hard and you have the shield to take some of that damage. Now, as far as her build, and I'm going to be making a video talking about this too, because I think it is like important to talk about graduating. I'm at that point now where I'm graduating on my account. Okay. So I want to talk about that. But as far as the actual build here, we have effect accuracy, and effect accuracy on a Swift Rush Bramble build. Okay. So the Bramble is basically giving me some extra chances to counterattack with my basic attack. That just seemed really, really important. I was trying to do this with Strive instead. So I was going for like more turn meter push. It wasn't really giving me the effect that I needed, because I rather have her hit more with the skill 1 so she can taunt versus pushing her into her turn, because it's just going to give her the turn she was going to get anyway. Whereas like the Bramble actually will allow me to potentially taunt. And there was even some windows in that fight where I missed a taunt, but the extra sustain and coverage just makes a huge, huge difference. She's at 154 in the speed. So definitely one of the much faster characters I've had in any setup that I've done or showcased so far. But in order for this to really work, I needed her to be faster. It's not the fastest speed she could possibly have, but that is definitely what I would say is like in-game average, right? Like that's really where you kind of want a character typically, just to even get them to do their job realistically. She has 200% effect accuracy though. And yeah, that's like basically like emphasizing the speed is really the biggest thing. Effect accuracy on subs if you can get it. We don't care about crit. We don't care about, you know, any extra defense or anything like that outside of like the bramble. On the shell, we have Crystal Wall, which is defense, Shadow Rush, which is speed, and then the Assault is final damage increase of 3%. It is a Swift Rush Colossal Guard, but keep in mind, this is a Nico Nada shell, so very accessible to get when you're at the point of being able to farm Inferno Nico Nada, right? Now, other units that were in that fight, we had Klaus, okay? Now, Klaus, I actually was like fighting tooth and nail. I was trying to make this as efficient as possible, like just in terms of like investment. But it, like, to be honest, like you're going to have to invest more into your units at some point, right? So Klaus, considering the only skill I have investment in on her is the skill 3, I had it only at level 3 at first initially. But with that, I actually was like, you know what? I need that extra skill cooldown, because the problem you run into is like 5-turn cooldown is okay if your character's 300 plus speed, right? Like you can get away with a 5-turn cooldown at a 300 plus speed character, right? Because they can move pretty quick. But when your character's under that like 250-ish or like 260-ish marker, I would say for me, or it's like still, yeah, 260-ish, right? That's not really giving you the rotation you need for a 5-turn cooldown at all. So I had to invest to actually finish the skill off for this to be able to reduce that skill cost by 1, but nothing else is required in order for her to be able to operate. I did try Codex of Magic on her. Codex of Magic, yes, it would get her to the hack in progress faster, but the problem with that is that I actually would rather go skill 3 into a skill 2 versus skill 3 twice and then skill 2, because then what it's basically missing or making me miss is an opportunity to rotate my team faster or my team into another opportunity to deal damage, right? So that's like what I'm really looking at that point. Now, as far as the actual build, again, really only emphasizing Swift Rush. We have her in effect accuracy, and effect accuracy. Speed subs where we can, but nothing crazy. Her shell is a surge, so 80% speed, and a odd final damage dealt. Like this is even for her, but it is an Inferno Nico Nada artisan. Okay, so that's something that I will say definitely helped a little bit with the speed. But other than that, this is definitely not like in-game standard Klaus. Like you would definitely want Klaus to be a lot faster, only 180% effect accuracy, right? Now from here, the DPS, we've showed the team before, but I actually finally got him built up a little bit better. Like I completely took off those 2-piece keen eyes and stuff like that. So I have him on the 8, 12, 6 right now. So he does have the Fury activated. He has the keen eye activated, and then he has the Fury Edge activated. Right now I have him on a crit rate, crit damage, and attack bonus, mainly because those are the pieces that I have. And the other thing that happens in this fight, and the reason why I shift him to a little bit more of a crit rate build, is because of the fact that I don't technically start the fight out marking. So I try to make sure that I'm getting as much damage as I can across the board, or as much of like throughout the duration of the fight. But yeah, I definitely ideally want to shift him more into the crit damage side and then just let him take advantage of the marking. But either way, it doesn't matter, kind of average out to be the same, because he gets that conversion when he does end up starting to mark. So it's like whatever. Investment wise, he is fully invested. I think this has always been the case with characters like the Ting. Kind of have to max invest him, but he can be used to so much stuff. We are using a White Fang on Fury, Keen Eye, and Fury Edge. But again, it's not a triple roll passive for Mythic. It is an overclock in gold, an effect accuracy on the skill or the second passive, and then a final damage increase of 6.5. So that is a Mythic roll, and I think that's a high Mythic roll if I'm not mistaken. I might be lying. Actually, no, it's not. It's like a mid one actually. So I think the high is 8%. So yeah, still not even like the best Mythic roll you can get, but it is still a Mythic roll, right? So that's basically what we got there. And then lastly, who else were we using? Linglo. All right, so I got to talk about her a little bit. This girl, man, such a good character. skill 1 is the only skill that we put any lattice into, all the way up to level 4. We could go for the duration increase just to finish it at this point. That would be nice for 2-turn Well Prayer. But to be honest, 1 turn is more than enough with the higher increased chance of actually like applying or purifying. That's like huge. But the other thing that we actually took advantage of here is I normally use her on Supernova, but for this fight specifically, she has to be on Fortissimo with the specific setup. Now, before we get into that, the build I'm actually using her on right now is a Cure Swift Rush. So it's giving her the 25% increase of healing efficiency, and then also the 35% speed. What we're also getting here, dude, anything to give me enough speed. She's on HP attack. It like literally doesn't matter. It just kind of also emphasizes how good this character is. Of course, if you could have like the HP percents and stuff like that, that would be great. But I was just trying to get as much speed on her as I could. And the other thing is too, I'm waiting until after the 2x event. So then I'll be able to actually build her up. She's at 139 plus 139. So that actually ends up being really good for the rotation, because one of the ads in Rengoku will actually silence a character in the beginning. And if it's like, say my RIN, that can be really bad. So she'll follow up with her skill 3. She'll heal the damage that they take and remove that silence, which is nice. And then from there, if we go over to Fortissimo, very simple. Swift Rush, Cure on his Surge, which is HP. Shadow Rush, Speed, and then Blade of Reason, which she doesn't use anyway. And yeah, that's like, again, super simple. This, like I said, was definitely quite an interesting process to be able to go through. That leaves us with, I think we basically did everything. Yeah, so we have now completed every single dungeon on Inferno. Yeah, it's been kind of crazy. So now I got to just like kind of go through, clean up my runs and stuff like that. You know, I've obviously like sped up some stuff or changed some stuff since the first initial clears. But yeah, all the shell dungeons are now, if you look, all on a Inferno. Like I said, I've gone back like since and like have sped up some of the teams since the initial more free to play friendly clears. But now I have like other stuff I got to work on. But alternatives, I know somebody's going to ask about that. For that specific setup, DPS wise, if you don't have like say Dating, but you got Yelly, that's an obvious answer there. Vice can be substituted for Ren. That's definitely a character I've seen quite a bit, which is why I knew it could work. It was just a matter of figuring out the specifics of what makes it work. I'm trying to think what else on that team. Klaus, kind of hard to replace just because she has that turn meter push, and Dinah like doesn't offer that outside of her skill 1. And the turn meter push is really for the entire really for the 2 ads, because Rengoku is immune to a lot of stuff anyway. So yeah, that's kind of that. I think he's immune to like all control effects. So yeah, there's just kind of that and turn meter stuff. So it's really for the 2 ads on the side, not really so much for him. And then Ling Lo, the only other alternative I think might be able to replace her is going to be like for not Fortissimo, freaking Fuchi. And that's on a Fortissimo, but I don't know if 100% she's going to give the exact healing output because of the fact that like one is the Moonlight Veil, and it's not even that, I don't know. She's not going to give the exact healing output, but the thing is that she also doesn't offer Purify. So you would have to supplement that, which is where like Vice would kind of come into play, because Vice really honestly is that like other purifying option outside of Ling Lo. So I really honestly think it's just Ling Lo, right? But fortunately enough, everybody does get her for free, so I don't think no one has to consider an alternative for her slot. She just should be in the team. But yeah, guys, that's going to be that. I mean, there's nothing really else to go over or talk about. We just got some more farming to do. So I hope that this was able to give you guys some more insight, able to help you guys out. But that's going to be that with this one, guys. Everyone, take it easy, stay blessed, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.